The bombers flew in tight formation at 25,000 feet, 890 aircraft against a single target. The date was October 14, 1943. The target was the ball-bearing factories at Schweinfurt, in the heart of Germany. Without ball bearings, German tanks, aircraft engines, and artillery could not be manufactured. This was the theory. What the crews of the 8th Air Force discovered over Schweinfurt was that the theory was correct. Bombing was accurate, and the cost was catastrophic. 60 American heavy bombers were shot down in a single day. 600 men were dead or missing. The United States Army Air Forces had proved it could reach any target in Germany. It had also proved that without long-range fighter escort, it could not do so and survive. On the 17th of August, 1942, 6 Boeing B-17 Flying Fortresses attacked a rail marshaling yard at Rouen, France. It was the first American heavy bomber combat mission flown from England. The 8th Air Force had been organized in England less than 5 months earlier, built around a strategic doctrine that had been developed in the 1930s and had never been tested in war. That heavily armed daylight precision bombing could destroy specific industrial targets and thereby defeat an enemy economy. The British Bomber Command had reached a different conclusion after testing the concept and suffering catastrophic losses in 1940 and 1941. They had switched to nighttime area bombing of German cities. The Americans believed daytime precision bombing was possible, and they were determined to prove it. The commanders who built the 8th Air Force were working with a tool that had never existed before. The B-17 Flying Fortress and the B-24 Liberator were the largest, longest-range combat aircraft the world had ever seen. Fully loaded, a B-17 weighed 65,000 pounds, carried 13 machine guns, and could deliver 4 tons of bombs to targets deep inside Germany. The bombardier used the Norden bomb sight, which in testing conditions could place bombs within 100 feet of a target from high altitude. The theory was that formations of such aircraft, bristling with defensive guns, could penetrate enemy airspace without fighter escort and bomb with precision. The theory met German reality over the skies of Western Europe in 1942 and 1943. German fighter interception was immediate, aggressive, and technically superior. The Luftwaffe's FW-190 could outrun the P-47 Thunderbolt, the primary American escort fighter. At altitude, crucially, the P-47 had the range to escort bombers only as far as the German border. When the escort turned back, German fighters attacked in concentrated formations from multiple angles. The bombers' defensive guns could not cover all approaches simultaneously. Formations that held together survived better than those that broke apart, but staying in formation meant holding altitude and course in the face of anti-aircraft fire and fighters simultaneously. The crews called it flying straight and level into the flak. Black Thursday, October 14, 1943, was the crisis point. The second Schweinfurt raid sent 320 B-17s into Germany without fighter escort. German fighters attacked continuously for 4 hours. 60 bombers were shot down over Germany and occupied Europe. Another 17 were so badly damaged that they were written off on landing. Over 600 American airmen were killed, captured, or missing. The loss rate was 26% of the attacking force, a number that, if sustained, would destroy the 8th Air Force within 4 missions. Deep penetration bombing without escort was suspended indefinitely. The solution came from an unexpected direction. American engineers had been working on a retrofit to the North American P-51 Mustang, a sleek fighter that had originally been designed for the Royal Air Force, but whose performance at altitude was mediocre. When an experimental combination married the Mustang's airframe to a Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, the result was the most capable long-range fighter of the war. With drop tanks, the P-51D could fly from England to Berlin and back. When the Mustang entered combat with the 8th Air Force in early 1944, the tactical situation over Germany changed within weeks. Escort fighters now accompanied bomber formations to the target and stayed with them on the way home. German fighter interception losses became unsustainable. By mid-1944, the 8th Air Force had achieved air superiority over Western Europe. The oil campaign, systematic bombing of German synthetic fuel plants and oil refineries, began in May 1944, and by late summer had reduced German aviation fuel production by 90%. German aircraft factories were bombed repeatedly. The transportation network was systematically destroyed in the weeks before D-Day. The 8th Air Force flew more than 350,000 sorties from England, dropped nearly 700,000 tons of bombs, and lost over 4,700 heavy bombers to combat. 47,000 American airmen were killed. Over 28,000 were taken prisoner. The debate about strategic bombing's effectiveness, whether it shortened the war, whether the civilian casualties it caused in Germany were justified, whether it was more or less efficient than other forms of warfare, began during the war and has not ended. What the 8th Air Force accomplished is not disputed. It destroyed German air superiority over Western Europe, degraded German industrial production, and made the Normandy landings feasible. The men who flew the missions went to work every morning knowing the statistical probability that their crew would not complete a full tour of 25, later 35 missions. They flew anyway. That is what the 8th Air Force was.